Thanks. So I want to move on to those latest China headlines with Secretary of State Pompeo talking about that Hong Kong might no longer have special trading status, or at least implying that this at the same time that Congress is mulling increased sanctions on China over its treatment of Muslim minorities. Rick Newman, you've been watching all of this for us. What's the end game here?
I think there is no end game. I think this is a muddle as far as the eye can see, and a lot of different things are getting conflated right now. So this legislation in Congress does not relate to what we've been hearing about the last few days, which is an apparent or perhaps a looming crackdown on Hong Kong in an effort to quickly absorb it into China. This is about human rights. It's about China's treatment of the Muslim Uyghur minority in Western China. It would impose sanctions on China for that if President Trump signs the legislation that looks like it's going to pass Congress. Now, Trump has not said he'll sign that legislation, and that human rights is not something he's real vocal about. So he may not. He may not want to deal with those types of sanctions, given everything else that's going on. I think the real important factor for markets right now is what's going on in Hong Kong, and if China is going to do something to try to aggressively in some way annex Hong Kong. I mean, one of the most important things about Hong Kong is it is a financial capital of the world and of Asia. Transparent markets, much more so than we have in Shanghai, for example. So it's a really important part of the global economy. There's a lot at stake here.
So, Rick, the Chinese, you would think, understand that, but they've also warned about the escalating Cold War, potential new Cold War with the United States. So what's their next move now that Pompeo has kind of thrown a punch?
It seems like that's the big question. So is China going to pass this measure and then sort of just sit back and leave it there? I mean, even if it does that, I mean, we're getting new protests in Hong Kong, which means probably more violence in Hong Kong like we saw last year. And, you know, the other thing that's happening at the same time is the whole world is kind of losing patience with China. I mean, let's obviously not forget about the coronavirus, which originated in China, and China was not real forthcoming about what was going on at the beginning, could have given an alert to other countries and the rest of the world faster than it did. So the one thing that does seem to be missing is some real concerted effort by, let's say, Europe and the United States or the G20 community to really get together to put pressure on China in a unified way. And instead, we're seeing, you know, President Trump is doing one thing, other parts of the world are taking a different approach. So China probably figures, you know, it's kind of a divide and conquer strategy at the moment. Let its allies kind of dither and figure out what to do while Xi Jinping consolidates power.
We will keep monitoring it and see what happens. Thanks a lot, Rick. Appreciate it.